Do you want to know the hidden secrets of reading people like a book and speed read their body language with dark psychology secrets, manipulation, emotional intelligence, persuasive communication, and NLP techniques? Your guide to helping you unlock the secrets behind every person is here.
Hello, this is Vincent McDaniel, and you are listening to How to Analyze People. Read people like a book and speed read their body language with dark psychology secrets, manipulation, emotional intelligence, persuasive communication, and NLP techniques. Provided to you by United Audiobooks. I hope you enjoy my audiobook. Now, let us begin.
Introduction. You probably have noticed that most people don't often say what is on their mind. Most people say fine or okay when they mean the opposite. There are times when you try to guess whether you should believe someone who tells you that they will think about it. This happens when you're the one finding out what is going on in a person's mind, and it can determine how successful you will be. Psychology draws the attention of millions all over the world and has become quintessential in matters of both health and justice. Sadly, psychology also has a negative connotation that makes people hesitant before trusting their psychological mind and the expertise of others. In most cases, this hesitation comes from a lack of familiarity or understanding of what psychology is and how it can be used to improve people's everyday lives. It's the norm to size up a person during the first few seconds of an initial encounter. This is something we do subconsciously, as we cannot resist the temptation to create a profile of the person and wait to confirm or disprove the evidence that we put in the profile, given our best attempts to withhold judgment before we have all of the information. Trying to argue that we are not doing so is futile. Some people take pride in doing so, then complain about their findings without any clear facts to support their arguments. Some people have a certain skill of reading others right from the beginning and being correct in their assessment. Many may slip into the mistake of making a profile and refusing to alter it if the evidence refutes their original conclusion. Most of us can relate to the personality details after witnessing a person's behaviors and behavioral habits. The truth is that when you have been doing it for some time, when you have a feeling that you are attracted to someone, or when you have a feeling that the person you are talking to is misleading or lying to you, by doing this, you have been unconsciously reading or analyzing people and their body language. In this book, you will be able to learn about personality types and their traits. You will come to understand what you are made of and which category or personality type you may fall into and others. If you really believe that you are perceptive or intuitive when it comes to judging others, it means that you can analyze nonverbal cues well. Most people don't exhibit their feelings. As a result, when you observe their behavior and actions correctly, it will allow you to have an insight into those emotions without really having a conversation with them. You can read universal behaviors, regardless of race, language, or culture of the person that you want to observe. For you to be able to understand those behaviors well, you are required to understand what the person is trying to represent. In this book, you will gain a deeper understanding of that. Who we are as a person affects how we see the world and how other people see us. How other people portray themselves is also just as vital to the brew. It is not only what you give that affects the results, but also how it is received. Some people just have the right chemistry. When they meet, they click right away. It may be that their personalities are similar, or it may be that one is complementing the other. Personality comes from the Latin word persona. This, however, is more closely associated with putting on a front or wearing a mask. Our personalities, on the other hand, are more than just placating other people. Instead, They are the conglomeration of our most consistent behaviors. They provide insight as to how unique we are and as to who we really are. This book aims to provide you with enough scientific knowledge of how to analyze, understand, and evaluate individuals in a variety of situations. You'll learn how your characteristics influence how you interact with others. Similarly, you'll discover how the attitude of others influences how you interact with them. All of these will assist you in understanding what is going on in a person's mind, and this book will help you do just that. This book will not give you some power to be a mind reader. What it will do is give you the tools and tips so you can read others' behaviors and find out what most people think. Chapter 1. Understand yourself first. Knowing an individual versus understanding their personality are two different things. By watching, you can figure out an individual's personality without really conversing with them. This might be a delicate situation, but it's critical that you don't become a creep. You may learn about people's characteristics by watching and observing them in a natural manner. For a variety of reasons, this is a vital step to take. You can find out what their typical reactions are. You can effectively predict how they will act in a situation. You'll be able to pinpoint exactly where they'd perform best, a front worker, a managerial position, and so on. And you will have terrible experiences with people from time to time. Quite a number of individuals start out as foes and end up being great friends. If neither of them had given the other an opportunity, none of it would have occurred. Do not get locked in the initial impression zone when interacting with new people. You need to learn about them. Figure them out. Only then can you make an opinion. Play off of the aspects you pick up on. Once you learn how to read people and put that to work, you will get good at it. Then, you can take it to the next step and start to influence the people around you. You should never form a universal opinion about someone. You can know what they are like, and you can stand by an opinion you have formed the right way, but don't ever trap people. Being able to know yourself is an essential step in the entire process of learning about others. Knowing your own personality type, decoding your tendencies when faced with social interactions, and learning how to alter your own demeanor to encourage outsiders to approach, talk, and act unguarded are important facets of becoming an expert at decoding those around you. What's your social personality type? First of all, it's important to know what your social personality type is. While there are a variety of tests that you can take online to give you a label to go with your usual socialization trends, there is no better way to truly grasp how you are as a social creature than by metacognition. It takes a lot of mindfulness to be able to think about the way you think, especially during social interaction. But in doing so, you can unlock some realities that might not have seemed apparent at the start. To begin the process, try asking yourself these questions. 1. When was the last time I argued with someone? What was the sequence of events that led to the rift? Did I show any behaviors that might have aggravated the situation? How could I have improved the outcomes of our interaction? 2. Who do I consider my closest or best friend? How did I meet this person? What might this individual appreciate about the way I interact with him or her? 3. When faced with a stranger, what is my initial reaction? How do I choose to present myself? Am I talkative and overbearing, taking control of the conversation from the start? Or do I prefer to let the stranger lead? 4. Are there times when I feel compelled to engage in interaction or to completely avoid it? When does this happen? And why do I sometimes feel that way? Now that you know the answers to these questions, you might already have some sort of understanding of your socialization trend. Some might have found themselves to be particularly friendly, even with strangers. Others might be more standoffish or intimidating. Whatever the case, it's highly probable that your social personality isn't the ideal one for decoding strangers. The purpose of this exercise wasn't exactly to help you put a name on your socialization trends, but rather to teach you how to ask yourself the right questions in order to audit your own personality. Knowing how to think about and process the way you engage with others can shed light on errors in your approach and provide you feedback that you can use to become more efficient in future encounters. The next time you find yourself in a social interaction gone wrong, take a moment to trace back your steps. What happened? Where did the conversation turn sour? And what can you do now to try to neutralize the situation and avoid confrontation? Asking yourself these questions, even in the middle of an argument, should help you reflect on your behavior at that given moment. It also helps to reflect on previous confrontations you might have had. Taking the time to understand how things might have gone wrong in the past will help you avoid the same mistakes in the future. This way, you can have a more polished approach and a broader idea as to the proper behavior during your next social interactions. Finally, you might also want to consider whether there have been instances where you experience the same issues. Patterns in your behavior could cause the same problems to arise, even if you're dealing with different people. Taking a look back at previous encounters and trying to find trends can show you where you're most likely to fail during a social interaction. Some people might find that the problem lies in tactlessness, and some people find that the issue stems from their fixation on certain topics that a majority of individuals might find touchy or insulting. Most of the time, these trends can be discovered with metacognition alone. However, there are some people who might need to experience confrontation once more to be able to accurately pinpoint where the problem exists. In this case, try to be mindful of what triggered the response during your interaction and make a mental note of the events as they occurred. This should make it easier to relieve the trend and adopt a healthier manner of interaction. The right way to behave. Imagine walking into a therapist clinic for the first time. You've been invited to visit so that you can talk about your childhood traumas, personal fears, problems, and other issues that might be eating up a part of your mental bandwidth. Needless to say, these are very personal, private concerns that you might not want to share, even with the closest people in your life. So how do you think the therapist should act if she wants to get the most honest information out of your meeting? If she had her arms crossed over her chest, if she chuckled when you shared particularly touchy information, if she winced at some of your stories, would you feel comfortable proceeding? What if she were too accommodating, asking a lot of questions, overly reactive, and empathizing with everything you said? Would she seem suspicious or pretentious? Would you feel comfortable continuing the session? If there's anyone that we can take cues from, it's therapists and counselors. Although their methods aren't entirely Holmesian, they do come pretty close. Their neutrality, their capability to ask the right questions at the right time, and their controlled reactions encourage people to share more truth without pretenses. Given that, we can take away these basic aspects of the proper way to confront social interaction. 1. Non-confrontational. Have you ever noticed how a therapist might continue to sit comfortably even when their client stands up, starts pacing, and acts agitated? It's a basic part of their profession to remain calm even in the face of an unsettled client. Adopting a confrontational or aggressive demeanor can trigger one of two responses in your conversational partner, and they look a lot like fight or flight. Those who have more confidence or who feel that they might have the opportunity to take the upper hand would match your aggression. Those who feel intimidated by your confrontational behavior would probably flee the situation. Always make sure you're not displaying any signs of aggression, irritation, or anger. This helps mitigate arguments, even as the conversation becomes heated. 2. Genuine. How can you be pretentious when it comes to social interaction? Easy. Act like you're too interested or invested in what's being communicated. While it is absolutely possible to feel certain emotions, especially when your conversational partner starts sharing touchy information, acting out of proportion might communicate that you're simply being theatrical. To the person you're interacting with, the disproportionate display of emotion or reaction might be a poorly thought out strategy in order to get them to share more. The apparent lack of actual concern or care might be a turnoff, which may cause them to hold back on how much they're willing to tell you. How do you act genuine in the face of a new person? The answer isn't as complicated as it seems. Simply be genuine. Reacting based on how much emotion you actually feel will keep you from seeming uncaring or pretentious. 3. Ask only when necessary. If there's one thing about you that makes you particularly efficient when collecting information, is that you don't interrupt anyone when they share details with you. You should stay silent, listen intently, and keep your thoughts and ideas to yourself until the person is done sharing. In many cases, you wouldn't even ask any questions at all. All of the information you could ever need to properly dissect a situation or person can be collected based on what you're given. Asking questions is an optional part of the process, mainly because of one thing: detachment. When dealing with a new person that you want to decode or decipher, try not to ask too many questions. Take what they say and pay attention to how they look. More often than not, you'll get everything you need out of just these two facets. Asking questions tends to lead you down trains of thought that focus on your own egocentric tendencies, so it's often not recommended. If you find the need to ask a question, it's probably because you've allowed your thoughts or biases to interfere. 4. Neutralize body language. Later on in this guide, you'll learn just how much you can tell about a person based on body language and other nonverbal cues. These are potent markers that betray internal thoughts and feelings, allowing others to get a glimpse into a person's psyche by simply looking at how they're physically behaving. In the same way that you can use these tools to understand the people around you, so too can others inspect your body language to learn more about you. Practicing how to neutralize your body language, regardless of what might be going on in your mind, can make it challenging for others to understand your true intentions, giving you the upper hand in any social interaction. Generally, neutral body language starts with a neutral, relaxed posture. An open aura, achieved through relaxed arms held at the side or with the hands gently clasped together, can encourage another person to feel more comfortable. Leaning backward in a chair can also communicate a non-confrontational demeanor, creating a friendly atmosphere for your encounter. Facial expressions, too, need to be carefully considered. Showing signs of your emotions can make a person adjust their behavior in order to mitigate any negativity they may cause you to experience. Keeping your face neutral and reacting minimally, only when necessary, can help maintain a natural interaction. Honing your inner self, DIY experiment. Since you have now learned the fundamentals of behavior, it's time to polish them with a short test. This exercise is designed to help you understand your current social behavior so that you can get a better idea of what you need to change. 1. Find a quiet outdoor space where you might find a few strangers or passerbys. Try and find somewhere you can sit comfortably and people watch. 2. Choose someone in the crowd at random. Observe their appearance, demeanor, and behavior. Once you have a well-established idea of who they might be, try to answer the following questions. 1. How would you approach this person? 2. In what way do you think the other person would act given your approach? 3. Do you think you'd get along with this person? 4. What would you talk about to get them interested in engaging with you? 3. Now, try to do some deep breathing exercises. Close your eyes, relax, and clear your mind of any thoughts that might interfere with your interactions. Take a few moments to breathe deliberately, feeling the air fill your lungs before letting out as much as you can. 4. Open your eyes and try to find the same person you observed earlier. This time, with your clear mind, try to answer the previous questions again. 5. Once you've finished answering the previous questions, try to audit your response with these guide questions. 1. How did the breathing exercises help you become more aware of your behavior? 2. Were there changes in the way you first answered the questions compared to the second attempt? What were they? 3. What tendencies or trends did you notice about your social behavior the first time you answered the questions? For instance, did you focus on a specific set of features? Were there any biases you might have applied to your observations? 4. Given what you've learned, how do you think you can improve your approach so that you don't impart any influence on social interactions? The importance of self-knowledge. The importance of self-knowledge cannot be overemphasized in the process of getting to know other people. You could learn so much about other individuals through a deep and concise awareness of yourself. Self-knowledge helps you know and appreciate how unique and different you are from other people, and this, in turn, helps you understand and appreciate how each person you come across is unique and different from the next person. Before you can understand other people, you need to start by firstly understanding yourself. A better understanding of yourself allows you to understand how internal processes work for you as well as others. For instance, knowing how some insecurities you have about yourself change and affect the way you behave will help you understand how this phenomenon is true for others as well. As an example, assuming your biggest insecurity lies in the fact that you consider yourself to be a shy person, understanding that your shyness shows itself through self-effacing body language and lack of eye contact can help you recognize the same phenomenon in someone else. All body language is an expression of an underlying self-belief. Thus, whatever body language you display or observe in someone else is an expression of what you or that person believes about yourselves. Being able to thoroughly understand yourself will enable you to see the direct and indirect effect you have on those around you. Understanding the type of effect you have on people around you will depend on how well you understand yourself. For instance, from the shyness example above, your inability to maintain eye contact with other people might cause them to also look away whenever they are talking to you, direct effect, or may cause them to assume that you are being untruthful at the moment, indirect effect, as a lack of eye contact is sometimes a sign that a person is lying. Therefore, by understanding how your lack of eye contact can be translated, you can make an effort to maintain eye contact intermittently or simply stare at the bridge of their nose. Staring at the bridge of a person's nose will give the impression that you are looking directly at them. If you do not try to understand your actions and how they affect those around you, anything you observe in other people will come through a lens of your insecurities without conscious thought on your part, and whatever image you form of such people will be false. Ultimately, this will make understanding people more difficult. To put it simply, if you act in a disciplined and possibly stern manner, the people around you will naturally adjust their communication style to match how you act. Conversely, if you act in a jovial and friendly manner, people around you will tend to act the same way to you. As Socrates once said, "To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom." The wisdom that comes from knowing yourself is what you utilize when trying to know other people. To sum it up in a few short words, self-analysis is the key to successfully analyzing others. Analyzing yourself. Before you can successfully analyze other people, you must first learn to analyze yourself. Analyzing yourself will help you build the necessary analytical skills, which you can then utilize to analyze other people. Needless to say, when starting out, analyzing yourself will be much easier than analyzing other people. This is because you will not need to guess about your thoughts and feelings. Unlike when you are analyzing other people, your thoughts and feelings will be readily available for you to analyze. However, when analyzing yourself, your biggest obstacle lies in understanding and figuring out why you feel the way you feel, or why you think the way you think. Another obstacle you might encounter in analyzing yourself is honesty. The honesty required to accurately analyze yourself is, oftentimes more than not, painful. However, once you are able to get past the aforementioned obstacles, you will be able to identify your strengths, your weaknesses, as well as the root of your emotions.
I hope you are enjoying my audiobook so far. It would be a pleasure if you could let me know how you are feeling about this audiobook in the comments section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you could also like this video and subscribe to United Audiobooks to have access to more best-selling audiobooks in the future. Also, please, if you are interested in getting more free audiobooks, please click the first link in the description below. Now, let us carry on with the next chapter.
Chapter 2: Why Analyze People? Analyzing others is something that several people in different capacities utilize. The most basic reason you may decide that you wish to explore someone is to understand them. When you have a built-in technique of understanding others, you will discover that having a cognitive instead of an emotional connection is critical to establishing a genuine connection with someone else's mind. Consider for a moment that you are trying to land a deal with a significant client. You know that the agreement is critical if you hope to keep your job and possibly even get a promotion, but you also know that it will be a difficult task to manage. If you can read someone else, you can effectively allow yourself to know what is going on in their mind. Think about it. You will be able to tell if the client is uncomfortable and respond accordingly. You will tell if the client is deceptive or withholding something and respond accordingly. You can tell if the client is uninterested, feeling threatened, or even just annoyed with your attempts to sway them, and you can then find out how to reply. When you can understand the mindset of someone else, you can self-regulate. You can fine-tune your behaviors to guarantee that you will be persuasive. You can make sure that your client feels comfortable by adjusting your behavior to find out what was causing the discomfort in the first place. Beyond just being able to self-regulate, reading other people is critical in several different situations as well. If you can read someone else, you can protect yourself from any threats that may arise. If you can read someone else, you can understand their position better. You can find out how to persuade or manipulate the other person. You can get people to do things that they would otherwise avoid. Ultimately, being able to analyze other people has so many critical benefits that it is worthwhile to do so. Developing this skill set means that you will be more in touch with the feelings of those around you, allowing you to assert that you have a higher emotional intelligence simply because you come to understand what emotions look like. You will be able to identify your feelings through self-reflection and learn to pay attention to your body movements. The ability to analyze people can be invaluable in almost any setting. There is no formula to analyze people around or with you. Some people understand based on their gestures, body language, verbal communication, nonverbal communication, or the way they walk and dress up. Importance of understanding people. Why is it important to understand a personality? If you are ambitious, it is essential to read the other person. But if you do not want any professional growth and are happy with a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. job, it is not your cup of tea. Likewise, if you value your relationships, analyzing folks is essential. Analyzing people is of immense importance from the perspective of life more than any other realm, like professionally. The more finely you understand yourself and the other folks around, the better you will be in dealing with circumstances and people and getting things on the right track. Understanding personalities is an unexpectedly broad and more practical subject than psychology. It is an extensive world comprising psychology and implementing the analysis to your everyday circumstances. It is vital to stay with family and amongst friends as well as colleagues. Learn it to be the best and different from all members of a group. Get it to attract people, to help, to support, to influence, to raise your voice and to express your point of view, to understand better, to make a correct and fast decision, to encourage people, to manage people, to direct folks, to solve the conflicts, and most importantly, to portray the right personality of yourself. Advantages of analyzing people. People are open books, needing little attention to understand their traits. Closely observing what they do, what they say, and how they listen to others reveals a pretty good picture of their attitude and personality. It has proven to be compelling and accurate in most cases. It is best that you can do it as a friend, family member, colleague, or a boss in the office. Analysis of people, their behavior, body language, and gesture are fascinating phenomena because of diverse learning experiences based on traits or behavior adopted by a person. Therefore, it is significant and essential to be successful in different walks of life, like a business arena, day-to-day life, companionships, and relationships, etc. Let us have a quick look at the advantage that results due to the analysis of people. Analysis of people offers an individual the skills required to deal with people. It mostly throws light on tips to conduct with positivity. It assists in recognizing, realizing, and upholding human life and its standpoint, thereby shunning conflicts. It helps individuals develop understanding and sympathy toward others, reducing people from being judgmental, and restricts them from pointing their fingers. It fabricates a healthy society, enabling people to evaluate themselves before judging others. For every individual to succeed in life, it requires essential interpersonal and communication skills to be able to stand at a pioneering position in the corporate sector and a society that is constantly changing. When students and people are migrating out for further education and jobs, this type of study is quite handy to understand people abroad and minimize the possibility of deception. Studying people is a type of preparation tool to cope with the colleagues at the office and work efficiently at work and in one's social life. It aids in comprehending the presence of imperfection in their life, which can be improved by understanding the other person's behavior and following his good features. We exist in a social order where individuals of different personalities, beliefs, attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors are found. Their analysis helps one gain awareness of the techniques to deal with them. It can be beneficial for people at the management level in picking up the right employees by understanding the behavior of their employees. Through analysis, you can project, direct, alter, and control the distinct behavior of an individual. You can get an idea of his reaction in a particular situation in advance and be prepared for the position. Analysis of people is helpful for the successful conduct of society and accomplishment of goals. Don't discard the good along with the bad. Ensure you are quiet and objective and take a gander at all the conceivable outcomes you think about before making a move. You may jump at the chance to get a subsequent sentiment or to do some examination yourself. You might originate from a great attitude. One thing is sure, however, when you feel remorseful or stressed on account of your activities, you are being treated with deference. Perhaps it's an ideal opportunity to discover somebody who will. How to analyze people. When we think about human behavior and some of the things that we need to do to read these, it is vital to look at the animalistic element found inside. While this is something that many people will forget about, humans come from the same materials as trees, animals, fish, and everything else in the world. We all came from the same source at the same time. Much of our behavior is going to be attributed back to our evolution. As we changed over the years, we started to develop what is known as cultural norms for what we show to others. Over time, we had to create systems of behavior and specific patterns to help us survive. This means that in the beginning, we had to be able to hunt and gather. Then, we had to be able to form systems for farming, along with other food systems. This continued to grow in the system that we have today. Like with any other animal, we are going to have different behaviors, ones that are used to protect us, eat, sleep, interact with others, and so much more. This is something that we need to keep in mind when we are learning more about the behavior of humans. It isn't enough to consider the person's conscious state when you want to understand why they do things. We also have to remember that animal sense, the part that helps us survive, as well. We must not forget that this animal part will drive us toward specific actions, especially self-protection, pleasure, food, shelter, and even sex. Though it may sound intimidating, learning to analyze other people is not nearly as difficult as it may initially seem. There aren't any different rules that you need to memorize or any skills you need to learn. All you have to do is learn the pattern of behaviors and what they mean. Once you know the behaviors, you can usually start to piece together the intent behind the behaviors. You can begin to find out exactly what it is that someone's eyes narrowing means, then start to identify it with the context of several other actions or behaviors as well. You can find out what is intended when someone's speech and body language do not match up. Body language rarely lies when people are unaware of how it works, so you can often turn to it for crucial information if you are interacting with other people. This works to understanding people because it is commonly accepted that there is a cycle between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Your thoughts create feelings, and the feelings you have automatically influence your behaviors, as you can see through body language. Most of the time, this is an entirely unconscious cycle. You are unaware of it happening. However, several therapy schools have chosen to identify and utilize this cycle, such as cognitive behavioral psychology. When you recognize that this cycle exists, you can take advantage of it and begin to utilize your understanding of the cycle to follow it in reverse. Effectively, you will be looking at behaviors that people display and tracing them back to the feelings behind them. This is why body language is so important to understand. When you can understand what is going on with someone's behavior, you can understand their feelings. When you know their feelings, you can begin to find out the underlying thoughts that they have. This is about the closest thing to mind reading that you can ever truly attain. To analyze other people, you have a simple process to get through. You must first find out the neutral baseline of behavior. This is the default behavior of the person. It would help you if you then began to look for deviations in that neutral behavior. From there, you try to put together clusters of behaviors to find out what is going on in the mind of someone else. Then you analyze. This process is not complicated, and if you can learn how to do so while also learning how to interpret the various types of body language, you will find that understanding other people was never more accessible. The study and reading of an individual's mind is a hot issue all over the world. Interestingly, only a small percentage of the millions and millions of individuals in the world have acquired the art of studying and understanding people's thoughts and minds. As a result, examining or understanding people's minds is the science of correctly predicting one's thoughts and their subsequent actions determined by their behavioral traits, body language, eye movements, facial structure, development of goose pimples, shakiness in one's voice, and intensity of breathing. As much of these attributes can help tell what a person is thinking, they differ from one person to another. As much as these attributes can help one tell what a person is thinking, they differ from one person to another. As a result, this creates significant difficulty in analyzing various people since similar body movements or behaviors could have distinctive telepathic meanings. The science and art of analyzing and reading one's mind is commonly known as telepathy. Furthermore, just a few people are aware of the use of nonverbal indicators, dark psychology, and the cognitive capacity to accurately forecast what the other individual is thinking. Psychiatrists, counselors, doctors, and mental health therapists examine their patients competently, projecting what they would think before acting. Nonetheless, anyone may improve their ability to read an individual's mind by knowing their behavioral responses and reactions when they are confronted with various scenarios by putting in the necessary time and effort. Analyzing an individual's deepest thoughts goes much beyond what they say out loud. It entails anticipating what the other person intends to do, identifying precisely what they mean even when they wish to hide it. In addition, understanding what an individual wants to say or what they think can help us adjust and adapt to behaving in a manner that does not upset them given their thought. Therefore, it is imperative to realize that reading people's thoughts can change one's social and personal life tremendously because they can align their ideas to the individuals they're analyzing. Nonetheless, it is essential to not pass judgment on others on how you have read their mind to avoid the likelihood of misinterpreting their body language, eye movement, intense breathing, which could have been triggered by different external factors, such as being allergic to environmental factors, especially coldness, hotness, dust, and the pungent smell of colognes. As a result, it is simple to accurately assess someone that a person spends the majority of their time with, reducing the risk of misinterpreting whatever's on their mind. As a result, various elements must be considered in order to equip them with the ability to analyze someone else without becoming faulty. Acquiring one with various distinctive cultures of other people, comprehending their emotional behaviors, and sharpening our observatory skills gives a person the capacity to analyze an individual effectively. In actuality, everyone's ability to read someone else's mind is equally improbable. Those who have learned the fascinating science of reading another person's mind may not necessarily read the thoughts of everyone they meet or interact with. This is mainly due to the variation in people's behavioral traits, cultures, traditions, and societies in which they have been raised. Therefore, these factors dictate how various people behave and act, making it incredibly impossible to analyze people from multiple backgrounds correctly. This is instigated by diverse meanings involved to similar manners and body gestures exhibited by individuals from various community settings. Yet these acts could mean other stuff. Analyzing and interpreting thoughts or minds has become increasingly difficult on these grounds. Furthermore, it is of paramount importance to identify the different cultures and meanings attributed to specific actions, behaviors, and body movements to avoid misjudging people when interpreting their minds. As a consequence, everyone should pay close attention to the instructions and techniques described in this book in order to understand and comprehend people's thinking without misinterpreting their minds for things they don't even know. Chapter 3: Understanding Personality to Better Analyze Others. So, you blew up one day at work. Everyone was shocked. Your voice was loud, and there was an apparent attempt to sputter out a curse word or two. Somehow, you managed to hold yourself back. Does this mean that you have an explosive personality? No, it doesn't. The fact that people were stunned that you did that says it all. Personality relies on a pattern. It is consistent. If you have a habit of screaming every afternoon when you get stressed out at work, that must be part of your personality. There is also a strong chance that you could get fired. What is personality? Personality refers to a pattern of thought, emotions, and actions. It also becomes a trademark of yours. People who know you best can already expect what you will do next. If you are an unpredictable person, other people will expect you to regularly surprise them So, do you only see personality through the way you behave? That is only part of it. Your thoughts, feelings, and tendencies all fall under your character. A sly person, for example, can continue changing their outward behavior. However, his pattern of thought will remain the same. People who have been keenly observing him can also detect the attempts at deception. What are the characteristics of personality? Some of the characteristics have been mentioned when we were attempting to define personality just a bit earlier. One of the things that should remind you about personality is that it is consistent. You have probably heard about the term character development. Film viewers and book readers appreciate seeing this in characters. Does it mean that characters have become inconsistent with their personalities? No, they haven't. In fact, when these characters do become inconsistent, the reader and viewers feel offended. They believe that the creator does not really understand his characters because even when they go through some form of development, there is usually a strong reason that can be backed by their personalities. 2. Personality is backed not only by a person's psychological traits, but also his biological or physical characteristics. Behaviors, for example, can be affected by biotic processes. This is why patients with psychological disorders get prescribed drugs that target neurotransmitter function. Changing how something works within the body changes behavior. 3. Personality is not just a little influence on how you act, but it may also cause you to behave a certain way. It is not like someone is whispering in your ears to make you do something. Instead, it is you acting a certain way because it is how you are driven. 4. You can express your personality in many ways. Some will read your character through the way you talk or how you barely talk. They may see it in your actions, hear it in your selected words, and more. But how does personality develop? No matter how many types of personalities try to categorize you, your character is still unique. There is likely a part of you that provides you a certain slant. After all, everyone has been born to different sets of parents. Even those who share parents differ in age, environment, sets of friends, and physical health, etc. You can even spot variations between identical twins. Various psychoanalysts had provided their theories on how personality develops. Sigmund Freud focused on psychosexual stages of development. Each stage focuses on an erogenous zone, which has some role to play in the child's development. A failure in any of these stages can result in fixation. Meanwhile, Erik Erikson cited 8 psychosocial stages. He was more interested in how children's social interactions contributed to their development of ego identity. Though Freud and Erikson might have varying focuses, they both understood the importance of each stage in the development of a healthy personality. Abnormal interactions in any of the levels can cause some problems in the child's psyche. So, both of them would agree that whatever you expose a person to in his childhood will have an effect on the development of his personality. What do the type theories say? Type theories group everyone into categories, thus basically saying that everyone belongs to a limited set of types. One such theory groups everyone into 4 types: A, B, C, and D. Type A's are regarded as work and achievement-obsessed people who want perfection in everything. They can be competitive and aggressive when something or someone serves as an obstacle to their goals. Type B's are almost the opposite because they don't stress themselves too much. They are evenly tempered, but have the tendency to become slackers. Type C's seem to be less aggressive versions of Type A's. They are perfectionist and conscientious, but they are not as comfortable with revealing how they feel. Type D's are your gloom and doom troopers. They do not believe in themselves at all and would rather stay away from other people. Even traits have their unique theories. Theories often touch how personality is formed through genetically induced characteristics. Some people are agreeable. They easily connect with other people because they have empathy for them. Some people are conscientious. They have goals, and they know how to work toward those. They can be relied upon. Another trait that people are judged upon is their being eager to please. These are people who want to conform and to be able to deliver what is expected. Not everyone is like that. Of course, you can note people who are at the other end of the spectrum, those who find it challenging to deal with other people. Some are even entirely disagreeable. We have people who simply do not think of the results of their actions. Extroversion versus introversion is commonly discussed nowadays. Some people are more friendly and gain their strength from their external communications, while others have to be alone for some time to regain the energy they have lost interacting with others. People are also checked for neuroticism. They tend to feel anxious all the time and can get upset quickly after being exposed to stress. Neurotic people may have been exposed to stressors during their vital developmental stages. Open people are ready to explore new things. They are more creative and willing to take on surprises along the way. Of course, people are combinations of the above. Again, every one of us is unique, so we are a combination of many aspects, affected not by genetics, but also by our environmentals and other experiences. Psychodynamic theories. The psychodynamic theories of Sigmund Freud and Erik Erikson have been previously mentioned. New theories that fall under this category are still largely influenced by Freud's dependence on what the unconscious mind does to our personalities. Freud and Erikson both refer to stages in development that we could refer to when analyzing present behavior. It is no wonder that subsequent psychodynamic theories follow Freud's own. It was Freud who first recognized how the unconscious affects the way people behave. Psychodynamic theories also divide personality into three parts: the id, ego, and superego. The id refers to the genetic components of personality. It refers to the eros, sex/life, and thanatos, aggressive/death, instincts, which are intrusive to the person. The ego develops to help you align yourself with the world's expectations. The superego makes use of society's morals, which they learn from their parents as well as other people, especially close mentors. The id and superego are both unconscious parts of your mind. They usually battle against your conscious mind, which is your ego. These conflicts may make you anxious, so the ego may end up taking out some defense mechanisms. Behavioral theories. According to behavioral theories, your personality is the sum of your interactions with your environment. Only your observable behaviors are included in these studies. So, your thoughts may not factor in. You may say that this goes against the description of what a personality is, and you are right. Nevertheless, researchers are still trying to figure out a way to get tangible assessment of people's behaviors. If you are in academia, you will notice that the names of behavioral theorists are familiar. The likes of B.F. Skinner and John B. Watson have become a veritable part of teaching and discipline. Learning is observed through observable behaviors and patterns. Of course, teachers will not be able to read the students' minds to see if their thoughts somehow surpass what they are showing via the application of their knowledge. Humanist theories. There are also humanist theories in personality to consider. Here, there is an emphasis on how each person faces his environment and responds to it through his own free will. Carl Rogers emphasized self-actualization, so an individual knowingly contributes to the development of his personality. Rogers believed that each person has a concept of who he is, so he starts responding to continuous stimuli according to how he sees himself. Abraham Maslow also believes in self-actualization. He formulates a hierarchy of needs with psychological demands placed right at the bottom of the pyramid. Breathing, eating, sex, excretion, and other processes that are required for survival fall under this section. A step above this is safety. Here, we see employment, resources, morality, and more. Love and belonging go after that, encompassing family, friendships, and sexual intimacy. After achieving these, a person can start looking out for his esteem. Finally, he may say that he has finally reached the pinnacle of the hierarchy at self-actualization. While Rogers and Maslow present pretty compelling stuff about personality, their studies are not considered rigorous. In fact, some even say that these studies do not have empirical evidence. Despite this, people do like the idea of each individual having some say in how he can finally achieve the best of himself. Humanistic theories do not leave people in fatalistic views of what life could be. Introvert versus extrovert. Tests, such as the Myers-Briggs test, have been formulated to gauge whether a person has introverted or extroverted tendencies. Isabel Briggs Myers co-authorized the personality inventory with her mother, Catherine Cook Briggs. The questions were said to have been formulated with Carl Jung's theories in mind. Jung conceptualized that people's behaviors depend on 4 psychological functions: sensation, intuition, feeling, and thinking. Through these primary functions and a person's introversion or extroversion, the Briggs-Myers test can identify 16 distinct personalities. The Briggs-Myers test identifies 8 variations of introverts. As mentioned earlier, these are people who lose a lot of energy when they have to mingle with other people. They need time to be alone to re-energize. It does not mean that they will hide from others all the time. They usually are more in touch with their inner thoughts. Introverts excel in observing other people and knowing just what to do in every situation. It does not mean that they will be comfortable with any of those possible actions. The test also identifies 8 types of extroverts. Extroverts are more comfortable with socialization. They will most likely blurt out what others have been meaning to say all along. Extroverts excel in being able to form networks to connect with more people. Chapter 4. Analyzing People Using Body Language. You can make a human obey you without hesitation in a similar manner to how you could train your dog to respond to your nonverbal cues and gestures. This book is for people who recognize the possible benefits of a little total control, or who are ready to go to any length to make that fantasy a reality. This won't happen automatically, of course. Few things worth having are obtained easily after all, but with practice, you will be able to subtly exert your will on those around you for your own ends. The first step lies in analyzing them, however, which is why this chapter will discuss how to analyze people based on their body language. 4 temperaments. In general, there are 4 major personality traits, and knowing which one your goal belongs to is critical to approach them efficiently. These character traits include sanguine, social, enthusiastic, and dynamic; choleric, impatient, short-tempered, or quick; melancholy, quiet, analytical, and wise; and phlegmatic, collected, calm, and rational, or peaceful and relaxed. Dr. Helen Fisher has modernized this old theory by coining new labels for the same basic personality types. According to her, the explorer, sanguine; the negotiator, phlegmatic; the director, choleric; and the builder, melancholic, are the 4 main personality traits. This isn't to suggest that people you meet won't have a blend of personality traits, but they'll almost certainly have one dominant type of personality, which you can play off. While understanding the many sorts of personalities may not seem useful initially, with experience, you will be able to associate commonly experienced quirks with every one of them. Eventually, you will be able to walk into a room of people you don't know and pick out the basic personalities of each person just by observing them. While initially, you might feel nervous, instead, make a point of focusing on the body language of those around you and try to pinpoint what type of personality you are dealing with. You might notice the people around you are not exactly at ease, or perhaps some of the people around you seem to be beaming with confidence. You will watch and listen. It's time to train the dog. Choleric. Generally speaking, you should be able to pick out any cholerics in the room, as they are those who cannot sit still. If you hope to successfully influence this person, you are going to need to be prepared to make up for their lack of patience. A choleric person may frequently be heard even before they are seen, indicating that they are in a positive mood. It takes very little to get that person's attention since they are eager to provide it. You might find that you have the most difficulty with this personality type as they tend to want and like sharing their passions with others, which means they are often naturally charismatic. They may even naturally dominate other personality types, especially phlegmatic individuals, which means you are going to need to deal with them first if you are in a group setting. They tend to be natural planners, which means they will go along with what you say if you present it as a logical solution to a specific problem. Many choleric people's main weakness is that whenever their objectives don't go as planned, they may become melancholy or moody. As a result, mentioning how they are just about to lose or bringing up a particularly unpleasant failure from the past is a natural technique to get them off guard. Furthermore, you will want to keep in mind that they are often impatient, anxious, and generally have a hard time relaxing. If you come across a choleric individual, you can integrate yourself by playing to these weaknesses, or you can exploit them if you have something else in mind. Another dead-on sign that you are working with a choleric person is that they tend to be less emotional than other personality types. This means they are more likely to be unsympathetic if you play to their emotions and are more likely to be inflexible in general. As such, you will need to appeal to their logic if you hope to make progress. You can use this lack of emotion to your advantage as well. However, as cholerics are often uncomfortable around excessive displays of emotion. Phlegmatic. On the other side of the scale are the people who are phlegmatic because they appear to be the most content with whatever is currently going on. They'll probably be comfortable with you or anyone else who encounters them, and you'll need to mirror their vibe if you want to make progress with them. One of the greatest things regarding phlegmatics is that they are actually constant. So once you've persuaded them to your point of view, you will not have to go through the process again. They are, therefore, naturally friendly and, if at all feasible, prefer to resolve conflicts by themselves. However, because they are frequently hesitant, they might freeze when you approach them aggressively. Phlegmatic individuals tend to prefer stability over change, which means they are often susceptible to ideas that involve remaining with the status quo. As such, if you are ever going to convince them to go against the grain, you are going to need to move slowly and get them to understand that they really have no other options. Keep in mind that they can be passive-aggressive and don't respond in kind. This is only a response to their dislike of change and is more of an automatic response than anything else. These types of people often keep their emotions hidden and put forth a relaxed and easygoing facade, regardless of what is going on inside. As such, it is going to take some extra effort to crack their shell and learn how they are really feeling. You may want to engage them in a broad conversation to see if you can get a sense of what makes them happy and what makes them angry. Moving forward without this bellwether can be dangerous, as it will be difficult to know if they like what you are saying or are opposed to it. Although they are typically eager to make compromises rather than cause a fuss, they are often self-centered and will hate any sacrifices they are forced to make. Remember that they are not averse to carrying grudges. Melancholic. If you look at these individuals, they are likely to be the saddest in the room and will most probably be staring directly at you. They are individuals that are most likely to be suspicious straight away, so prepare to resist them before dealing with them. These people are prone to introspection while being attentive to the views and desires of others. This could cause them to focus too much on the world's inherent cruelty, which could easily escalate to despair. One useful trait that most melancholics share is a desire for perfection in all they do, which makes them highly conscientious of others. This is directly at odds with the difficulty they often have relating to other people, as they habitually fail to live up to the melancholistic standards. They are characteristically very autonomous and prefer to do things for themselves rather than settling for less than they believe they deserve. As such, the best way to integrate yourself to a melancholic is to appeal to the sense of self-worth that comes along with their perfectionism. If you can find something that allows you to access their ivory tower, they will naturally be far more inclined to follow your lead. After all, you've proven that you have taste. They also only tend to focus on one thing at a time, which means you may need to lead the conversation in order to ensure that it gets to where you need it to be. Sanguine. Sanguine people are charming, impetuous, and most importantly, pleasure-seeking. If you are at a social function, the cheerful people will be the loudest in the crowd, making new friends with everybody. On the other hand, these personality characteristics have a hard time sticking to tasks, so assisting them with the things they've been meaning to do but haven't gotten down to is a terrific way to acquaint yourself with them. It is very difficult to embarrass a sanguine individual, as they are typically shameless by nature and are always certain that whatever they are doing is the right choice. They are also virtually endless wells of confidence, which means you will never make any headway with them by trying to convince them that they have made a wrong move. They tend to be very physical and enjoy personal contact, which means that matching this desire is a great way to score bonus points right out of the gate. They are also naturally curious, which means you can also hook them early by showing them something they have never seen before, or at least promising to. They also love to tell stories, which means listening and commenting when appropriate is another great integration technique. The biggest weakness of sanguine individuals is that they tend to feel controlled by their circumstances. As such, if you can convince them of the best way out of the latest situation they have found themselves in, they will likely go along with whatever it is you are suggesting without a second thought. When in social circumstances, you will want to get them on your side early, as they will be more than happy to spread the news of how great you are to everyone else at the party. What to do with these details? Knowing the different personality types will help you read people to decide who they really are. From here, you can decide what techniques will be needed to persuade them or relax them for your own purposes. Positive body language. Positive body language conveys a positive vibe or attitude that those with whom you are communicating will instinctively seek out more of. If you're around, folks will get a positive vibe. Leaning toward you when someone speaks or enters a discussion is really a clear sign of good body language. You're dealing with a phlegmatic person if this occurs spontaneously. These are usually self-assured individuals. Learn to know your personality type. It's an important act of closeness that can be used regardless of their level of confidence. Reciprocate the trust with a sincere grin and a small laugh. It should be easy to trust or acquire that person's confidence after that. When a person appears to be effortlessly calm without crossed arms and legs, it is another evidence of good body language. This says, "I am confident." Yet the truth is that, despite their seeming confidence, they most probably have a poor self-image. These people, regardless of their outward features, have a gloomy personality. It's possible that you, or the person you're watching, is insecure and trying to hide it. You could be dealing with either a choleric persona if you aren't interacting with a melancholy person. Fake it till you make it is the choleric personality type's dogma. They will not easily quit or give up, whether they have been cut out for something or not. If you're dealing with this sort of individual, merely uncrossing your legs or arms should give you a boost of confidence. Throw in a real smile for another individual you meet, and observe as they brighten up a little in response. Such a form of body language may require some skill, but it gives you power over the circumstance. Prolonged eye contact is often relevant in some form or shape, yet comprehending it can be difficult because it is easy to misinterpret. If an individual can gaze at you for over a number of seconds without avoiding eye contact, they are typically confident and sincere around you. This is most likely the phlegmatic type of personality, which includes a hint of awkward shyness. They'll notice you scan the area, but don't expect them to confront you about it. Eye contact, in general, makes you appear interested and reveals so much about the character you're working with. When you find yourself staring at someone, you're probably interacting with a cheerful persona. This is the sincerest of the four, as it also is the most observant. It is one's way of demonstrating those attributes by looking an individual in the eyes. Shyness may cause you to glance down or away, depending on the circumstances. People that are shy are thought to be innocent. Most phlegmatic personas are very adept at this. Although you may have your motives, you need to appear innocent because the greatest way to keep individuals engaged is to keep them interested. Since you want people to trust you, you have to get close enough to analyze what type of personality you're dealing with. If the other party looks away and down and then back up at you, take advantage of this opportunity to consider them more closely. This is a sign of vulnerability, which means they trust you, so you are free to do with that trust what you may. This is often a good time to ask them about themselves or offer something personal to break the ice. Compliments are always a good choice, as it is hard to dislike someone who has recently praised you. Smile. It can transform your day when you are walking along the street and someone genuinely smiles at you. It's the kind of power you would like to possess. Many sanguine personas have this ability. On the surface, they are pleasant and can quickly make people smile. It's difficult to fake a smile. The eyes reveal the reality of any grin. Pay particular heed to the lines that appear whenever the cheeks move, indicating a sincere smile. If you request someone to do something and they say no, smile regardless, so they don't feel awful about it. Based on their reaction, repeat it in a different tone and in a comical voice, humor, then in a serious tone. Request the favor once more, this time with a smile. This should only be utilized in social context and should not be utilized at work. Unless you're really cool with fellow coworkers or you're certain you're interacting with a happy individual. You may be interacting with a choleric persona if your colleague or employer shows a distaste for emotions and appears impatient. You'll have to give the impression that they're in charge. You are pushing the envelope, but you do not want anybody to notice. Don't react too strongly, no matter how things turn out. It's possible that being too happy will ruin the vibe. In the same way, if you're unhappy, just smile. You won't be able to modify your persona because it is thought that you were born with it. On the other hand, knowing more about yourself allows you to regulate the presentation or even conquer your flaws in order to exert influence or sufficiently close to other individuals to objectively evaluate them. Negative personality cues. Since you do have a reasonable knowledge of good body language, let's take a look now at the negative signals that are frequently delivered by various persona types. Also, the most earnest and genuine people can be deceived by sending distress signals using their body language. So, it's crucial to take these with a grain of salt to prevent being deceived. If you come across somebody who is meant to dissuade you and who may be criticizing you, it is probable that they have a phlegmatic persona. You're in the company of a sanguine persona if the pessimism you're picking up is originating from somebody who is requiring attention that seems false. You need to understand the differences and also how to react to each situation in order to attain your objective. Whether that's to brighten someone's day so you can enjoy their presence or get away from somebody who wants to damage your vibe, there are many reasons to do so. In any case, practice makes perfect, so observing necessitates a significant amount of it. Personal space. When someone turns away from facing you, it's usually because they think you've done something wrong or symbolize something terrible to them. This mindset is applicable to all four personality types. It's painful to be rejected. When you need to shift the vibe, return to their environment rather than trying to be sorry for yourself. The sanguine personality types are unlikely to abandon you. They prefer to be near the person to whom they are attentive. Do not be alarmed by this. Make it clear that you're worth it. Simply alter your attitude to a really relaxed position without saying it. You could do this by directing your foot at the individual, smiling, or asking them a question regarding their work or hometown. Inquire if they want some fresh air while smiling. You've just established an intimate encounter with somebody who was previously skeptical of you. Once they do agree to walk out with you, let them and their sanguine persona do the majority of the speaking, as there's a high likelihood they'll do so because they're restless. Diffuse a negative situation. Avoid smiling if you really want to keep your calm until you get out of a sticky situation. When someone gives the sense of being unsteady or unsafe, this happens. Despite the fact that they are likely to have a sanguine persona that is notorious for putting people down, try to tell whether they are upset or if they're just attempting to rob you of your desire to live. You should avoid looking at the individual and instead make brief eye contact or seem as though everything is okay. That's an extreme case, but you wouldn't like to panic and scream if a pistol was pointed at your head. Instead, you should maintain your composure and cool and controlled demeanor. That is the strong point of a phlegmatic character type. Crying and going on would annoy the individual to the point where they would snap and shoot you. This may occur if they have a choleric persona, which dislikes crying and is indifferent toward others in general. In difficult situations, it tends to ease tension and make them more willing to bow to your way. Looking side to side. Whether you're working with someone in a social or business context, they shouldn't be gazing side to side. This indicates that they are uneasy or bored. Do they have a guarded demeanor? When a gloomy personality type is completely in their very own world, they might appear reserved. When you get yourself in this condition, take advantage of the situation to use good body language to take charge of the mood. Demanding attention will not make the person listen to you. You will be perceived as a threat by a gloomy personality who has a complex. As a result, keep your hands uncrossed and grin whenever you catch someone's eyes. It's okay to ask a query now and then. This allows the individual to forget about their discomfort. This person only wants to know they aren't alone and that you will help them. Touching their face. A person who rubs their face indicates that they are uncomfortable. Those with choleric personas have this feature. They are unable to sit still and might even suffer from severe anxiety. This is popular all around the world, but the true culprit may simply be impatience. Acting fatigued is the easiest way to gain influence and get this individual to react to you. Lack of energy isn't an emotional mental state, which is crucial for this non-emotional personality. Although it may seem strange, they may believe that if you really are asleep, you will not realize that they have been twitchy or sweating, or that you're not even a threat. Simply claiming to be weary is a fantastic defense against everything you've done wrong. Although it may not please your boss, being weary is an out in most social environments because anyone can empathize. Keep this technique in your intellectual toolbox, along with all others. Stress. Choleric persona types are prone to exhaustion as a result of their constant need for control. Individuals who are easily swayed, charmed, or manipulated are those who have been conned, charmed, or influenced. If you truly require assistance from someone, pause until they are anxious. They would not want to dispute it right then. They might not have the strength to consider things through, but you have the advantage. The trick is to remain cool and not allow yourself to be abused. You don't want to be held responsible for the stress. All you want is for it to serve you. Please remember that this persona needs to accuse somebody of their troubles practically all the time. When a person is anxious, you could not only convince them more easily, but you could also be a hero. You're well aware that this individual, particularly your gloomy personality type, requires reassurance. Because they are cloaked in self-doubt, they require more reinforcement than the rest of the personality types. They need to be protected from further stress, and you attempt to establish a soothing atmosphere. That's where flattery enters the picture. Apply it. Ask for whatever you need now, steeped in the sugary sweet attitudes. Allow your tone to seem uncertain. This individual will be afraid that you will abandon them. Simply keep someone pursuing their own story for long just to accomplish your aim. Have a goal in mind. With all the advice being given, choose your intention before applying any techniques. Before you can persuade someone to act differently, you will need to dig into their world and find out why they are resisting you. Once you know their fear or motivation, you can minimize the risk. Does your intention involve exploring? You can target a sanguine personality, known for having the curiosity of a child. Are you planning on negotiating a deal? This will be easiest with the phlegmatic personality type, who is pretty agreeable, hiding the fact that they have no goals of their own. Do you need to take responsibility for something you need to be done? Surely, you can easily convince the compulsive and bossy choleric personality type that this was their idea. Do you need a loyal person to achieve your goal? Find the melancholic personality. This is the reason they get up in the morning, to prove that they are trustworthy and self-sacrificing. No matter what personality type you are dealing with, you are better off if they can't explain the reason for not agreeing with you or rejecting your influence. Shake your head and act a little disappointed. If they get an attitude or want to argue, always, and I mean always, take the high road and clean up the mess by using phrases like, "I respect your opinion or belief. Our friendship is not worth losing. I apologize. I am going to reconsider your position. Really, I am." Use a genuine tone. Whether or not you mean what you are saying, you are gaining the reputation as someone who is serious, and for that, you will have respect. Chapter 5. Understanding Values, Beliefs, and Attitudes. In order to fully understand another person, it is essential to first understand their values, belief systems, and attitudes. Understanding them will help to explain their behavior and give you a better idea of their perspective on life. Basically, your values, attitude, and beliefs are the things that make you what you are. They affect what you do, how you think, and how you do things. Naturally, your background, upbringing, experiences, and relationships will all have played a part in the way you see things. However, attitudes and beliefs could lead a person to assume things about others that are not right or fair. Hence, it is important that you realize this and develop self-awareness so that you can be sure that this does not happen for you. Taking the time to learn about and understand different attitudes and beliefs of others will help you relate with them in a way that takes these into account. Let us take a look at what values, beliefs, and attitudes mean and how they can help you analyze a person on a fundamental level. What is a belief? Basically, a belief refers to a person's attitude or ideas about the world. It refers to an opinion that a person holds to be true, and such beliefs can be religious, cultural, or moral in nature. Essentially, beliefs serve as the fundamental framework of a person's actions. Hence, the beliefs a person holds tend to serve as an important part of their identity. Usually, the type of beliefs a person holds determines the quality of such a person's work, life, and relationship with other people. This is especially true as a person's beliefs tend to determine their experiences in life. Even though most people tend to trust that their beliefs are based on reality, the truth of the matter is that their beliefs are what govern their realities. Needless to say, people tend to regard their beliefs as precious because they reflect who they are and how they live their lives. A person's beliefs can come from different sources, including cultural and societal norms, a person's own experiences, what other people say, such as education or mentoring. Usually, a potential belief stays with a person until they accept it as truth and adopt it as part of their individual belief system. Hence, each person tends to evaluate and seek sound reasons or evidence for the adoption of these potential beliefs in their own way. A belief becomes a part of a person's ideology once they accept such a belief as truth that they are willing to defend. Pre-existing beliefs. Some people have pre-existing beliefs caused by the stereotypes that they have been exposed to. Issues surrounding drugs and alcohol, disability, aging, sexuality, independence, health, the rights of people, their idea of health, and what it is like to be older and/or disabled. These stereotypes could affect the way they interact with other people. What is a value? Values are the basic and fundamental beliefs that motivate or guide a person's actions, as well as their attitudes. They are the personal qualities that provide a general guideline for how we conduct ourselves. They determine how we treat people, the sort of person we turn out to be, as well as how we interact with the world around us. In short, anything a person holds in high regard, such as standards, principles, or qualities, can be regarded as values. As I mentioned above, values are fundamental beliefs that motivate our actions, and essentially, long-lasting beliefs are what a person adopts as a value. A belief will be adopted as a value when a person starts to regard such a belief as extremely important. These values then become standards that govern how they make the choices that shape their lives. Essentially, in order to make clear, rational, responsible, and consistent decisions, a person must be able to articulate their values. Where do we acquire values from? Values can be derived from various sources. Here are a few examples. Family, culture, educational institutions such as schools, peers, social influences, religion, important life events like death, losing jobs, divorce, accident, traumatic events, health issues, and financial losses, etc. Society, music, workplace, job roles and work ethics, books, history like economic depressions and world wars, etc. Media, technology, dominant values. These are a variation of normal values. They refer to certain values that broadly belong to certain communities, groups, as well as cultures. While normal values are developed from certain beliefs a person holds, or in other words, while normal values are usually adopted by a person based on their personal experience or preference, dominant values are indistinctly passed down as an established sort of value to a person via the community they reside in, the culture they belong to, or a group they are a member of. Dominant values can be passed down through institutions a person belongs to, religious organizations a person attends, or even the family they come from. However, you should keep in mind that dominant values tend to vary from one culture or society to the other. That is, values that are considered dominant in one culture or society might not be considered as important in another society or culture. A few of the predominant values, based on the sources indicated above, may be religion, holding religious values that will have to do with certain beliefs concerning right and wrong, and good and bad, as well as a belief in a particular God. Religious values can include spirituality, honesty, peace, patience, faith, and gratitude. Family, holding a family comes first, value that has to do with taking care of the family, regardless of whatever. Family values can include communication, respect, generosity, and openness. Peers, holding a value on the significance of friendship, such as staying loyal to friends and doing certain things that peers approve of. Peers' values can include loyalty, encouragement, friendship, and reciprocity. Workplace, holding a workplace value may include doing a proper job and conducting yourself as professionally as you can in the workplace. Workplace values are often focused on teamwork, innovation, excellence, quality contribution, professionalism, and cooperation. Educational institutions, Holding educational values that place a value on learning, such as values that could include the pursuit of knowledge, personal advancement, and creativity. Significant life events. Certain life events, such as marriage, the death of a loved one, or divorce, tend to lead people to adopt certain values. These values can include involvement, affection, humor, fitness, strength, and prosperity. Major historical events. Just as certain life events have the ability to dictate what values we adopt, major historical events have the same ability. These can include a work smarter and harder value, a this too shall pass value, patriotic values, and a saving for times of drought value. Media. Media avenues such as the TV, movies, radio, the internet, and advertising have the power to suggest the adoption of certain values. These values can include fun, enjoyment, and entertainment. Music. Just like the media, music can influence the development of a person's values, as music is often a reflection of what is happening in a particular society. Technology. Technology can influence the adoption of certain values too. These values can include innovation, speed, freedom, and connection. Culture. The type of culture a person originates from can also impact the sort of dominant values they adopt. These values can include family, humanity, respect, religion, and involvement. Values help to guide the behavior of individuals. It decides what they think is right, wrong, just, or unjust. Hence, the sort of values a person adopts can help you in analyzing the type of person they are. Nobody goes around shouting their values or telling their values to strangers, but with practice and an understanding of the different values that exist, you will eventually be able to tell what sort of values a person holds based on the type of behavioral tendencies they display. For instance, a person that holds an honesty value will usually exhibit behaviors that denote such value. What is an attitude? Attitude refers to the beliefs, values, feelings, and behavioral tendencies of a person that are then directed towards certain people, objects, or ideas. Basically, a person's attitude refers to their personal belief about something and how they react to such things. A person's attitude is made up of several components, such as their chosen values, their chosen beliefs, their past experiences, their present experiences, the culture they belong to, and the society they live in, amongst other components. Furthermore, attitudes can be implicit or explicit. Implicit attitudes refer to the unconscious part of our attitudes that nevertheless still affect our beliefs as well as behaviors, whereas explicit attitudes refer to those attitudes we are consciously aware of and which clearly influence our beliefs and behaviors. Mentally, attitudes refer to how a person is disposed toward other people and things. These mental dispositions, therefore, influence a person's decision-making process, which then inevitably shapes their behaviors. Primarily, people tend to form their attitudes from underlying values and beliefs. Hence, their attitude will always have a positive and negative element depending on what sort of underlying values and beliefs form said attitudes. A person adopts a certain outlook on life based on their upbringing as well as their experiences, and in turn, these attitudes tend to have a powerful influence on how a person behaves. It is important to note that while attitudes are enduring, they can also be changed. It is also significant to note that certain factors that may not have been internalized as beliefs and values can still influence a person's attitude at the point of decision-making. Factors that might cause this include the desire to please, convenience, political correctness, and peer pressure. What an individual considers to be essential attributes, or what attributes they respect about others and themselves, are often shaped by their life experiences as well as the values developed via family influence, religion, instructors, friends, education, and culture. Given that every one of us has unique characteristics molded by our personal experiences, it's important to remember that when studying people based on attitudes, individuals will have diverse sets of beliefs and values. That is, individuals will never view and react to problems in the same manner again. The formation of attitudes. Basically, an attitude can be formed through 5 primary ways. Social factors. Social factors that can affect the formation of a person's attitude can be divided into 2: social roles and social norms. Social roles refer to how people are expected to behave in certain contexts, whereas social norms refer to societal rules that dictate what sort of behaviors are considered as appropriate. Both of these social factors have the tendency as well as the capacity to dictate how a person behaves, and they ultimately lead to the formation of a certain attitude that sticks for a very long time. Experience. As I mentioned earlier, people's attitudes are formed through what they experience, both past experiences as well as present experiences. In fact, the experiences of a person form the majority of their attitudes towards life. Learning. Attitudes can also be learned through various means, especially through the media. People sometimes adopt the type of attitude they see through the media. For instance, a lot of people, particularly kids and teenagers, that saw Arnold Schwarzenegger play the Terminator tried to emulate his robotic attitude. However, it is important to note, attitudes formed through this channel do not have any staying power unless they are constantly reinforced. Observation. Observation of events around us or people around us can also contribute to the formation of certain attitudes. For instance, when you greatly admire someone, observing how they act and behave can lead you to adopt some of their attitudes. In fact, there are people that go as far as studying attitudes of certain celebrities and modeling their attitudes based on what they observed. Conditioning. Certain conditioning can also determine the formation of a person's attitude. For instance, imagine a young lady that does not smoke moving into a neighborhood where practically everyone smokes, both the old and the young, both males and females, everyone. This young lady might initially resist adopting this carefree attitude to smoking, but as time goes on, she will eventually adopt the positive attitude towards smoking simply because everyone around her does. The challenge with attitudes. A few of the challenges with individuals' attitudes is they frequently overlook any information that contradicts their beliefs, i.e., they get selective in how they see and react to situations and issues, resulting in a loss of objectivity regarding the world. Nonetheless, by gaining insight into our attitudes, humans can lessen the possibility of making choices based only on their subconscious, pre-existing opinions, which allows them to interact with others more kindly. Similarities between values and attitudes. Although attitudes and values are distinctly different from each other, they have some similarities, which are listed below. Principles and attitudes are 2 important variables that influence behavior in the cognitive process. They are learned and developed principally from the same foundations. They endure and are resilient to transformation. They have a reciprocal effect and are used interchangeably. Dissimilarities between values and attitudes. While values and attitudes might share some similarities, they are certainly dissimilar in certain ways, such as values, attitudes. Values help direct our behaviors. Attitudes are the reactions that our beliefs inspire. Values help us decide what we think of as being right, wrong, good, or unjust. Attitudes are our likes and dislikes of things, people, and objects. Values are less or more permanent in nature. Attitudes are changeable with favorable experiences. Values represent a single belief that guides actions and judgment across objects and situations. Attitudes signify multiple beliefs centered on one specific situation or object. Values are adopted from cultural and social standards. Attitudes evolve out of private experiences. Analyzing people by taking their personal values and beliefs into account. When analyzing people, it is important to keep in mind that their personal beliefs and values are mostly responsible for the way they act or behave. A value or belief can either be positive or negative depending on the context and manner they are displayed in. This is to say, a value like innovativeness, which is a neutral value, can be acted out in a negative manner. For instance, a person that adopts the aforementioned value can resort to stealing other people's ideas in a bid to appear as innovative. Alternatively, a negative value, such as lying, can be acted out in a positive way. For instance, assume that the person is about to be kidnapped with their family. By denying or lying that the person they are with are their family, they can potentially save them from being harmed or kidnapped as well. Hence, when analyzing the underlying values or beliefs that make up the attitude of a person, consider the circumstances and the intention behind their attitudes. This, in essence, means that before you can judge a person, you have to know them first. This is because, sometimes, analyzing people without considering a lot of factors, such as why they may be doing what they are doing, may lead to an inaccurate perception of such people. Respecting the attitudes, beliefs, and principles of others. Additionally, when analyzing a person, it's critical to recognize that everyone has the right to their own set of values, beliefs, and attitudes. As a result, you must accept and respect the possibility that others may have beliefs, attitudes, and values that differ beyond what you call normal, acceptable, or beneficial. You should not expect other people to change their values, attitudes, and beliefs just to fit your own definition of the aforementioned constructs. It isn't always simple to keep your views and ideals from being communicated to others, though it's a thing you ought to be conscious of. It's quite easy to have a subtle effect on others around you. Body language, postures, the manner in which you say things, and even your behaviors can create the perception that you disagree or agree with the beliefs or values of others around you. And the goal of analyzing people is not to agree or disagree with the type of person they are, the type of choices they make. Rather, the ultimate goal of analyzing a person is so as to gain knowledge about what drives them to behave the way they do and who they fundamentally are. You can, therefore, use the knowledge you glean from analyzing a person to either get closer to them or to stay away from them. It all depends on whether you can accept them as they are or not. Be mindful of others' values and beliefs when communicating. In the field of communication, there is something that is known to great communicators but often ignored by many others, and this something is the ability to sense the values and beliefs held by others and making it a point to not offend them by infringing on their values/beliefs. However, it is important at this point to highlight that people will usually not tell us what values/beliefs they hold in their lives, as sometimes these values and beliefs are held by them at a subconscious level, hence they might be unaware of it as well. It is interesting to note that we are not born with any values and/or beliefs in life, but rather, they are either inculcated into us by our parents/teachers, or we have developed/pick up such values/beliefs at some point in our lives. These values or beliefs may be positive or negative, but the more important thing to take note of is that we usually live our lives according to them, and therefore, it is important not to infringe on others' values/beliefs to avoid offending them. So, what are these values or beliefs? These values or beliefs vary among individuals and groups. Hence, it is almost impossible to define them. They range from positive values, such as being respectful to elders and being dutiful to our parents, to not so positive ones, such as prioritizing leisure over work and being too individualistic to the point of being self-centered. Most of us usually live by our values or beliefs for years, and thus, it becomes habitual. While it is possible to acquire new values or beliefs and get rid of old ones, what is important for everyone is to note the existing values or beliefs held by different individuals and to communicate those values, since doing otherwise will hinder the success of most communications. However, If people whom we converse with do not overtly state their values/beliefs, which usually does happen, how are we able to identify the values or beliefs held by them? Well, usually, a person's receptivity to our responses to their questions or comments in the midst of the communication process is reflected in their nonverbal responses, such as their facial expression, tone of voice, gestures, body language, and emotions. Here are some examples of signs of discomfort when people's individual values are breached. Changing the subject. When someone's values or beliefs are breached, they will usually try to change the subject. One common example will be asking the age of someone, especially a lady. If she holds the belief that a lady's age should never be revealed, she will change the subject of the topic. Hence, it is important for you to take note of this abrupt change in other people's responses as well as their tone of voice, which might become cold at this point, and their facial expression, which may become a little stern as well. Dropping the frequency of eye contact. You might sense that the other party seems to have reduced the amount of eye contact with you. While this often implies anger, a more probable cause might be the fact that you have inadvertently mentioned something that has gone against their values or beliefs. This is especially so if you are the one that is talking and they are the ones who are listening. Once again, it will be good to observe their facial expressions and tone of voice to confirm this. Remaining silent for long periods of time during conversations. Usually, when a person's values or beliefs are infringed upon, there is a strong tendency for him or her to remain silent for a substantial period of time, often without eye contact with the speaker. Sometimes, he or she might respond, but their responses are often very curt, which is an indirect indicator to cut short the conversation. But most speakers do not notice this subtle indicator. One good way to resolve this issue and to verify this is to ask the listener for his or her point of view. They might relent and respond positively to our point of view, but we should be able to tell if they agree wholeheartedly from their body language. It is important to note that while a person may comply with your points of view verbally, they are often unable to conceal their true feelings non-verbally. Hence, you should be observant of any changes no matter how subtle their tone of voice, eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, and other aspects of body language. You should be mindful of other people's values or beliefs to better communicate with them. However, this does not mean that we should adhere totally to their point of view. Rather, we should make clear our point of view, and in the event that we sense that some individuals are not receptive to our points of view, we should immediately invite them to voice their thoughts on said issues. Great communications, interactions, and relationships take place not because we are willing to be submissive and comply with other people's points of view. Rather, we should both make clear our stand and be receptive to others so that the communications, interactions, and relationships can be continuous and meaningful. In other words, analytically inclined people tend to agree to disagree with other people. Beliefs, attitudes, and values, and their reaction to the 6 basic human needs. All people possess the same 6 basic human needs and the desire to satisfy each. However, every person's beliefs, attitudes, and values are unique and different. The 2 groups, beliefs, attitudes, values, and the 6 basic human needs, feed off of each other and thereby influence the everyday life of an individual. Therefore, the relationship between the 2 groups is a complex dance that must be properly and positively balanced up at all times. Understanding the relationship between the 2 groups can help in your quest to analyze people. For instance, knowing how people's beliefs, attitudes, and values affect the way they strive to satisfy their needs can provide insight into their personality. Chapter 6. Body Language. Body language alludes to every one of the manners by which one presents and puts themselves out there, other than the words they express. It encompasses the body movement, postures, and gestures that then characterize one's nonverbal communication. As it is, for the most part, compulsory, nonverbal communication intently shows one's unaltered considerations and sentiments, and this can go quite far in depicting the validity of the message they put across, the heart of an individual, and thusly give proof of truth or absence of it, considering the level of consistency between the signs and the message as apparently spoken. Nonverbal communication serves to underscore or fortify verbal messages where truth wins, go against it where falsehoods win, substitute it when the prompts are more distinctive, and in this way, increment its effect just as a highlight or underline its importance. Conversation with signals. Various body languages, body language of the head. Lowering. Lowering the head so the jawline covers the neck is a protective activity perceived against dangers to the neck. It can, likewise, imply friendship or dread, considering the other individual either excessively superb or startling. Ladies might bring down their heads while touching an arm or shoulder to convey a teasing message, as though to perceive the man's predominance. Yet their aim may also be to ensure the man doesn't take his eyes off of her. It can likewise be utilized to show insubordination where one perceives power or strength of the others. However, it doesn't surrender or alert where one perceives the other individual's solidarity. They simply don't confide in them for it. Raising. Raising one's head is often a sign of curiosity, as they want to look at the point of interest. Done quickly, raising the head can be a sign of a query, as one asking what the other means by their statements. As for one looking up, at the ceiling, etc., and holding it for a while could mean that they are bored or a visual thinker looking at internal images or turning the eyes away so as to concentrate on a sound. Tilting. Tilting the head sideways can show one's advantage in what is said or presently occurring around. Shifting towards somebody. It very well may be a teasing signal, similar to one saying to them, "I'm keen on you." At the point where one's head is shifted and pushed forward, it could imply their interest, vulnerability, or inquiry in consideration. In such a situation, the level of slant relates to the degree of vulnerability or strength with which the sign is planned to be sent. A shifted head and pulled back can be a safeguarding strategy when one is dubious of some apparent danger. A shifted head can, as well, connote accommodation in one's sensations of vulnerability. Oscillating. Oscillating the head implies gesturing the head all over or shaking it sideways. Nodding the head in many societies signifies being in concurrence with what is being said and regularly goes along with grinning or different indications of endorsement. Overwhelming hubs show solid agreement, while more slow gesturing demonstrates restrictive understanding. Then again, swinging the head implies objection or conflict. The pace of swinging is an impression of the strength of the feeling. While talking, gesturing is one's endeavor to convince the others to agree with the message he is putting across. Gesturing to the next individual as they talk urges them to continue with their discourse. A short, sharp gesture can be taken for a headbutt when one demands acceptance. However, the other firmly thinks otherwise. Shaking one's head when the other is talking makes them stop, request your feedback or inquiry, or twofold their work to persuade you in accordance with what they are communicating. In any case, oneself shaking their head as they deliver their discourse solidly shows that they don't themselves have faith in the thing they are saying in the first place. Generally, high-status individuals less frequently move their heads, while the low-status individuals move their heads more. Rotating. Turning the head away from somebody viably eliminates consideration from them and rejects that individual for the occasion. This one shows complete negligence, lack of interest, or lack of perceived worth or meaning of what the other individual thinks they represent. Turning one's head aside, while keeping in touch with the other individual, could be an endeavor to adjust the ear toward them in order to hear them better. But this can also be disconcerting, as the other person has to move their eyes along in an attempt to maintain contact with only the one near the eye. Or then again further, one can give this one-eye stare as a demonstration of strength or show an affront or camouflage. A slight pivot of the head means incomplete agreement or conflict, particularly when one feels they are being pressured to do as much, however, while anyone else would prefer not to. Pointer. When engaging with a person in a conversation or activity, and they keep pointing their face in the direction of another thing or person altogether, they involuntarily send a message of being more interested with that other person or thing than staying with you in the present moment. Individuals turn and point their face toward the person or thing that is important to them. Also, less amazing people will generally zero in on the force of individuals. Along these lines, it's simpler to tell who is taking the lead in any type of social event. Jerking one's head toward the other individual without seeing them can be very annoying and frequently unobtrusive. One does this when they don't need the subject to see that the affront is aimed toward them. Touching. Touching the head can be an indication of uneasiness or confusion with regards to what to do straight away. When one covers their eyes, ears, or mouth, they feel they'd prefer not to see, hear, or say anything in the light of the current situation. Contacting the side of the nose or stroking the jawline shows that one is thinking, weighing between choices or decisions, or passing judgment on individuals, given the chance just introduced to them during the conversation. Tapping one's own head can be deciphered as self-discipline, meaning one's disappointment for activity or decision that they didn't make right, and they're simply recalling or acknowledging it. Contingent upon the specific circumstances, nonetheless, and how it is done, this motion can likewise imply that another person close by is stupid. Propping one's head in the arm could infer that one is exhausted or tired. It might very well be perceived that weariness is tiring to the head. This motion also projects one as being in a perspective mood and simply thinking or assessing things, and are genuinely present consistently in their minds. Unmoving. When one speaks without moving their head, they are showing that they are serious about what they are saying and what they are talking about from a point of authority. Keeping their head still actually gives them the position to fix others with a prevailing look. People whose heads are unmoving when they talk consequently acquire a higher status over the others. Finally, an unmoving head with unfocused eyes is normal of somebody who is lost in profound internal thoughts. Body language of the mouth. A casual mouth is for the most part acknowledged as a regular condition of rest and indicates a casual individual. In any case, numerous different motions can present varying different emotions and responses in the moment. Parted. Slightly separated lips, particularly whenever licked while looking long enough at somebody, can be a tease signal. By and large, however, separating lips is the primary sign by the mouth that one needs to talk. Pursed. When one's lips are pursed and pulled inward, the person could be feeling tension and frustration or disapproval of some sort. Tightened lips could be an indication of smothered displeasure. What's more, since one is viewed as taking a stab at something inside, it can demonstrate that they are lying, holding oneself, and keeping their real reaction to themselves. This signal can likewise be a presentation of one who is thinking and getting to choose between options. Puckered. Especially whenever contacted with a finger, puckered lips show that one has desire. Sucked in. When one is reluctant to offer something that they think could most presumably be awful information and are unsure what sentiments it could cause in others, they are believed to have their lips sucked in. This motion also depicts an occasion where one attempts to smother discourse as they are bound to mislead or get dissatisfaction from others. Flattened. Flattened lips are for the most part made with a longing to talk without, in light of the current situation, ending up being basic, Or it may similarly be a demonstration of disappointment when one might need to talk, yet need to delay until the other's finished. When one will not eat on the grounds that they loathe the food or are propelled by something different, they smooth their lips. This is also a trademark when one is abstaining from crying, thusly leveling their mouth in sadness. Turned up. A mouth turned up with a splendid face and gleaming eyes connecting all the face muscles in an expansion are what portray a certifiable grin. A tenacious twisting of the lips, with teeth unshown, can be an absolute presentation of sheer disgust. Turned down. Lips turned down show pity and disappointment. Individuals who experience wretchedness so frequently have their lips accepting this shape for their regular condition of rest, which can be a dismal thing. Retracted. This can be a token of a wide grin or the beginning of animosity. Regardless of whether or not the eyes have their shine, tells which case it is. Moving. When one is silent, but their lips move in the shape of words, one could be thinking of saying the words. Biting concludes the structured development of one's mouth all over. But this can also say that one is being nervous if they aren't actually eating. Rolling in the lips, each against the other, while the eyebrows are brought down, connotes vulnerability or disapproval. Twitching. A jerk is an exceptionally quick development of the mouth. One or the other way may say that a fast idea just went through one's head. This is a trademark with sequential liars and can show their own pessimism with or mistrust in themselves or others. Protruding. When one encounters a sensation of responsibility, their top lip reaches out over the last one that is being nibbled between the teeth. At the point when the base lip reaches out excessively, it is an indication of vulnerability. When individuals feel that things aren't turning out well for them, most likely notwithstanding their work, they mope, and their base lip is seen extending out. Lips squeezed together and pushed out imply one is dubious of their idea. Oneself contacting their lips in this state with a finger implies they are thinking about talking. However, they aren't prepared yet. Biting. An individual who is feeling tension for the most part gnaws their lips ceaselessly. This is valid for one who goes under pressure in light of the pressure they are discussing at that point. This may make one take a stab at smothering themselves as to quit saying something. Unexpectedly, and very in opposition to the above occasions, lip gnawing can be consoling as one edges out of the awkward sentiments that come with relaxed involvements above clarified, contingent upon the, perhaps change of, circumstances. Body language of the eyes. Looking up. This motion is normal among visual masterminds. They deflect the eyes to see inward pictures. When giving a discourse, numerous queries try to review arranged explanations. When one looks into, then to one side, they attempt to review a memory. Looking into them to one side could mean inventive creation of pictures, presumably building lies. This motion could likewise mean one is exhausted, so they search around to find something interesting. Looking down. Looking down at an individual could be a showing of one's power and territory over them. Notwithstanding, simply peering down and not at the individual could mean accommodation, considering them being a danger or excessively radiant, or that one is detecting a sensation of responsibility within. Looking down, then left, one might actually be conversing with their self. When peering down, then right, means they could be taking care of their interior emotions. Looking sideways. One would do this to abstain from seeing what is before them or to focus on something different that got their attention. A quick glance to the side, then back could mean they wanted to check for the source of the distraction for threat or interest, or they just felt irritated by the comment just made by someone. When one looks sideways, then passes on, they may be attempting to pursue a sound from memory, while one who settles to the right attempts to envision the sound. Side-to-side eye development indicates trickiness and lying. One, in this way, is attempting to see as a helpful way out or if a departure would be a good idea for them if they are discovered. This motion is likewise a trademark with conspiratorial people who, at that point, need to guarantee that no other person sees them or listens in. Gazing. People look at things or individuals that they are keen on. Potential love accomplices continue to take a gander at different eyes rather than a locking look. For the lecherous, the eyes slide down the body. Significant is by and large where the eyes go. Up and down looks imply that one is attempting to measure the other for a likely danger or sexual accomplice, with a demonstration of predominance or thoughtless of the other individual's sentiments. Look at the temple, a defocused look, or no look at all, means one absolutely lacks interest in the other. There exists a power look that is typically short and extreme that one uses to force their will on the other person without aggression. Short looks are an indication of one who feels remorseful of lying. Then again, getting this, a surprisingly long look, can likewise be them trying to conceal their culpability as they search for any indications of discovery from the other person. Glancing. A look at something implies one's craving for it. One who looks at the entryway severely needs to leave. Wanting to converse with somebody, one will take a look at them. A look can also show worry for another's sentiments, particularly on the off chance that a word being used or just said would agitate them. In societies where searching for long is taboo, looks would show one's craving to look at the other. A look sideways with eyebrows raised would be one's token of appreciation for the other. With eyebrows not raised, a sideway look implies dissatisfaction for the other person. Eye contact. Eye contact is utilized to show interest, friendship, or predominance. Mellowing of the eyes, the muscles around them unwinding, expanded sparkling pupils, and a slight defocusing are a sign of one's sexual longing for the other individual. Visually connecting with an individual means recognizing and likely being keen on them. Breaking it would imply that one is feeling offended, discovered, or undermined, or that they just considered something that caused a similar interior distress. A look away combined with the head hesitantly low can be a solid tease action. Long eye-to-eye connection implies mindfulness. We, for the most part, maintain long eye contact with individuals we like, and those who appear to like us may respond with this signal. As long eye contacts without squinting can be a show of mastery, hostility, and utilization of force. A gaze rivalry can result when the other individual calls their guts to work. Who submits does so by turning away first. A decently long eye-to-eye connection routinely supported all through a discussion or discourse is regularly a demonstration of persuasion. Staring. We gaze at a group in whom or things in which we have a specific interest. At individuals concerning whom we've quite recently gotten unforeseen news. We gaze at in shock and mistrust. A short stare, with eyes wide open, then back to normal, expresses surprise. Our eyes normally follow things that are impartial to, or that we dread, just to be certain that they do transform into threat. Squinting. Squinting is narrowing one's eyes. This happens when one feels that what is being said is somewhat or simply false and instinctually goes into the assessment of realities. Vulnerability regarding what is implied can likewise be so motioned. Liars squint, trying to cover their misdirection. When one considers something, yet doesn't have any desire to picture it in their brain, they squint. Blinking, rubbing, and closing. Blinking their eyes as often as possible means one is thinking more, or that they are working in an attempt to make up lies. Astonished in dismay of what one is seeing, they could flicker arbitrarily and rapidly. One rapidly blinking, closing their eyes, or rapidly rubbing them could be a sign that they do not want to see what is in front of them, or they are trying to hide something or from something. The sensation of stowing away could be founded on the way that the world is locked outside the eyes, or that while scouring the eyes, the hands become an obstruction among them and the world. Engaged in a discussion or delivering a discourse, Shutting one's eyes may serve to dismiss eye-to-eye connection and deny or overlook demands by the others for a chance to talk. Visual scholars frequently shut their eyes to see inside pictures better. Pupil. Dilation of the pupil is a reaction for one's craving to participate in a sexual or otherwise invigorating action or energizing experience. It additionally takes the form of satisfaction encompassing an individual or thing within reach, or promptly leaves critical thinking with a sensation of optimism. Constriction, then again, could mean one is nauseated by their momentum encompassing individuals or things before them, and is thus not drawn to them or have a disdain for them. A contracted pupil could also imply that one's cerebrum is overburdened as well as fatigued. Body language of the torso. The middle contains the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the back, the tummy, the butt, and the hips, establishing the storage compartment of the body and facilitating the majority of the crucial organs of the body. The neck. Held directly up above the shoulders, an adaptable neck depicts that one is feeling certain and confident of oneself and understanding their feeling of leadership. Bringing the neck down could imply that one is feeling insignificant or shaky or fears for an expected danger. Turning the neck could mean giving or eliminating consideration, or that one could be exhausted or tense. Scouring the neck is ordinarily a demonstration of facilitating pressure or anxiety. The shoulders. Shoulders, in their flat condition of rest, are the demonstration of a casual individual, certain with themselves, and feeling calm with the situation. Raised shoulders could imply that one is feeling pressure from uneasiness or dread, or they are attempting to shield the neck from an apparent danger, while bending them forward could be a protective stance. Pushing them back is a method of displaying boldness and exhibiting power. An absence of information or comprehension or vulnerability can be concluded from a shrug of the shoulders. When words would reveal them, liars decide to shrug as opposed to talking. However, this very signal could be shown when one feels bothered, disappointed, or aggressive. The chest. Women push their chest out at men as a provocative, heartfelt showcase to them. Men do it to other men to show that they are mightier, and to the ladies to show that they can keep them safe. Pulling it back is a preliminary to ensure security, yet is additionally a method of one saying that they are innocuous in whatever they say or do. This ought to not ever be mistaken for submission. Leaning the chest forward can mean interest in what's going on, or can be heartfelt as one attempts to draw nearer. Alternatively, one can likewise do this to attack the other's own space to affirm their dominance. Involuntary chest development is an element of relaxation. Restless people inhale quicker. Tense people will generally take short breaths. When one pauses their breathing, they are in confident suspense. The belly. In heartfelt circumstances, level stomachs are for the most part attractive. When the bellies are round, the stomach muscles can set up to highlight the look. When one is under pressure, they regularly rub their stomach. Covering with hands could mean one feels the trepidation of an assault and is assuming a protective position. The back. When one is showing rejection, they first avert gazing, then turn the head, twist their torso, then twist it further by moving one leg, turn the whole body to an angle, then finally complete the whole turn, showing the other party their back. Each of the turns implies the degree of rejection that one is offering. Body language and posture. Postures of the body are generally grouped into open or shut. A shut stance is established by collapsed arms, crossed legs, and a slight calculation from the other individual, and it frequently suggests that one is feeling distressed being around the other or is only uninterested in them. An open stance, then again, includes open arms and legs and confronting the other party straightforwardly. It implies that one is available to and inspired by the other individual and is prepared to tune in during the conversation. Body language of the arms. Relaxed arms uncover that one is additionally loose and calm with themselves and their environmental factors. One can, nonetheless, grow their arms to look greater and broaden their sidelong space in certainty or aggression. Raising one's arms could mean that they are feeling dissatisfaction, and going with a shrug could mean disarray. Crossing the arms could indicate the impression of potential outer mischief and how one takes a cautious posture. It can likewise mean tension for the absence of trust, interior anxiety, or a feeling of weakness. This signal can also be consoling, showing an absence of fear, while open arms depict a sensation of solace and trust. Stowed away arms can imply that one has a covered-up intent. Body language of the legs and feet. The width of the shoulders. Open legs show a casual posture. Marginally more extensive means one is grounded and sure. A more extensive position uncovers one's demonstration of force and predominance. Uneasiness or chilliness is depicted by legs shut or crossed. Pointing a specific way, an individual implies that one needs to go there instead of staying where they are. Consequently, testing one's sanity back would show a lack of engagement in the current movement. Individuals who walk quicker need to finish things, while the slower ones could be lazy. Observing body language. While everybody can notice and comprehend articulated body signals, with somewhat more exertion, one can start to try and further develop this skill. A. Become perceptive. A. Go for inconspicuous motions that are overlooked or missed by many. B. Learn the signs and recollect their meanings. C. Observe them in real life to accumulate many hints. D. Analyze effectively to get the right picture. B. Detect lies. A. Look out for disjointedness by singling out prompts that don't coordinate with what one is saying. Thin slicing. This alludes to one's capacity to precisely pass judgment on others utilizing their initial feelings about them. Pursuing nonverbal communication, by and large, happens subliminally. Thus, individuals are frequently incapable of clarifying how they come to their end results about others. With specific preparation, one can figure out how to intentionally assess material characteristics and, in the end, decipher them into individuals' characters. One can give detail of how they showed up at their judgment of the other person. Chapter 7. Analyzing People with NLP. While reading an individual's thoughts, telepathy appears to be a rare talent. Studying someone else's thoughts may be learned and improved significantly over time by anybody who develops a desire to do so. Knowing how to read people's minds and ideas starts with oneself. It is critical to understand that mingling with members of society is an excellent tactic. Furthermore, establishing a strong inner intuition about what is important to the individual you're analyzing might help you stay one step ahead of their ideas every time you make contact with them. This strategy goes beyond the use of a lot of energy or time spent reading someone's thoughts, which minimizes the hardship and time taken to know what an individual thinks, since the mind reader will be acquainted with how a particular person behaves and acts when encountering a specific area. Analyzing down people is without a doubt straightforward, assuming you can find and comprehend their mentalities toward life and their other day-to-day deeds. Quick-learning individuals have a more noteworthy shot at prevailing with regards to whatever they could seek, including occupations and business. It means that if the mind reader learns how sensitive their intended individual is, analyzing their thoughts becomes simpler, given their reasoning is inextricably related to their vision of life as well as the actions they desire to engage in over time. However, while highly observant individuals have a better chance of success in life, they also depend on each other to help them achieve their objectives by gaining others' confidence and friendship to make their task easier. Notably, wise individuals are blessed with a higher emotional quotient. This characteristic presents a challenge for mind readers to analyze their thoughts because they can detect the dynamic behavior of the mind reader and relay it to their intentions, consequently hiding their true beliefs. Therefore, Mind readers should be careful while analyzing prospective individuals to avoid being dumped with fake thoughts. Everyone releases signals embedded within their opinions all the time. Only an experienced person can decode those signals to a meaningful message that is understanding those views. It's worth noting that deciphering these indicators can prevent people from engaging in potentially disruptive conduct. For example, if a mind analyzer detects anger from the individual whose mind they have been trying to read, it could advise them to step back a bit from the individual in their immediate surroundings or change the subject of conversation. There are 5 major strategies for reading other people's minds, which are as follows. Begin with generational differences. Not everyone was born in the same generation. As a result, individuals think differently, depending on the age at which they were born. Generational gaps or differences provide a broader lens through which one views life, thus attaching a unique value and meaning. To ease the examination of their emotions, mind readers should determine the group to which their subject belongs. For example, 20 to 30-year-olds can be identified by their utilization of technological innovations and how they put themselves out there through internet-based stages like Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram, and not forgetting WhatsApp. Individuals of this age don't put a high significance on close-up and personal discussions, since they see that it is faster and more proficient to speak with those around the globe by means of computerized innovation. All things considered, telepaths should follow this category of individuals from their online media platforms for them to understand them efficiently. At the same time, boomers, the senior age category, believe in face-to-face verbal approaches. In this case, mind readers must understand that this group of people rarely thinks about technology whatsoever. Nonetheless, the knowledge about a person's generation plays a vital role in devising the best angle to read their minds. They can employ appropriate business practices if they know and understand the age to which their potential funders belong. For teenagers, there is no need to travel to them since they can provide a presentation via the internet. In the meantime, the elderly want to be addressed face-to-face. Mind readers should keep in mind that baby boomers are traditionalists who prefer to do things exactly the way they've always done them. As a consequence, they don't really alter with the times, making it possible for the mind readers to rapidly anticipate their emotions. Recognize red buttons. Analyzing people can turn out to be very challenging, in which case, a mind reader has to identify areas of pain through asking strategic questions to flush out specific visible responses that the analyzer could use as a base to say what they could be thinking. Specifically, forming a deep connection is the initial step toward determining the regions that can prompt an individual to express their thoughts and grasp what is essential to them. Recognizing what triggers one's feelings and perspectives on one's comfort level is also essential for determining one's red buttons. To obtain this, one must have special ears and a little mouth, implying that one should listen even more and speak less. Careful listening is the single most important reason for forecasting one's mind. An individual who speaks extensively pays little attention to the other person they are aiming to evaluate. Some researchers recommend asking open-ended statements, which allow people to express their relative strengths and weaknesses. Whenever presented with open-ended inquiries, people might also reveal their own stories. This provides mind readers with a more thorough picture of that person's life experiences. Furthermore, these stories aid mind analyzers in comprehending and relating one's experience to another, implying that these people may have similar sentiments when confronted with the same circumstances. Check on personalities. Different people's personalities could help determine what type of individual they are, particularly when they concentrate on their distinctive personal characteristics. These characteristics also help to determine what an individual considers to be important to them, as well as how they react when thinking about such issues. This necessitates a deeper level of study from mind readers while interacting with people, as well as the use of a calculated approach. A strategic technique aids in the visualization of a person's ideas. Discovering somebody's thoughts entails seeing their deepest feelings and responding in a way that does not irritate them. More importantly, this creates a space where a mind reader can't lose an individual in a dialogue by changing to their recognized thinking. However, by analyzing the features of a person's qualities and verbiage, mental analysts might hunt for indicators that describe them. Individuals that want to be in charge of everything, for example, will have a tighter handshake than non-dominant personalities. Furthermore, someone who understands and enjoys sarcasm would not hesitate to use it in every communication opportunity they have. As a result, telepathic people can use other people's beliefs to determine the best strategy to analyze their thoughts because it exposes whatever that individual thinks about the majority of their time. Look out for nonverbal communication signs. Examining a person's nonverbal and verbal communication is part of reading their intentions. When evaluating people, the majority of mind readers overlook nonverbal cues, although they are an important part of determining what someone else is thinking. Furthermore, people convey their concealed ideas using nonverbal displays, especially body language. When someone backs up, looks away, and frowns, it suggests that they are uncomfortable with the subject of conversation or what you're saying. When someone leans in, it indicates that they are focused and may not be paying attention to others at that time. Without question, developing a superior ear to concentrate on and detect small audio signals is critical for determining what the other individual is thinking. The volume of an individual's voice could also be used to deduce the other individual's thoughts. For instance, if someone answers the questions in a monotone, it implies that they are detached. Harps, on the other hand, are uninterested in such debates. If someone stares at you more intently, it means they're interested and see the value in what you're saying. This may be because individuals have had some encounters with this subject, whether positive or negative, but now they want to learn more so that they can handle such situations with knowledge. To summarize, humans use nonverbal cues to transmit millions of words. Therefore, practicing analyzing and interpreting those signals will help you become a competent mind reader. Be a good listener. To achieve efficient communication, every individual must communicate one at a time, according to effective strategies of communication. Speaking out of turn results in no dialogue and wastes time because neither participant is listening. Consequently, mind readers must be great listeners in order to correctly infer whatever their subject is contemplating. Psychiatrists, for example, can catch all of their patients' signs if they listen carefully. This type of exercise also aids in observing nonverbal signs from the individual they are analyzing. Mind readers could then correlate the nonverbal cues with the verbal ones in order to precisely guess their thoughts. It is significant to know, nevertheless, that if the interaction is just over the cell phone, this approach may be difficult since the mind reader would miss nonverbal signals. In that instance, they must make their guess based on how the individual sounds and the tone of their voice. On the one hand, loud, aggressive manners suggest that the individual is furious, upset, agitated, terrified, or anxious. On the other hand, a soft, clear voice suggests that the individual is interested in whatever you have to say. Final words. So, there we have it. We've arrived at the end of this book. I'm happy you made it this far, and I hope you found all the information stated here useful for day-to-day life. Practice makes perfect, so take everything you've learned and apply it. Even if it feels weird or unusual at first, experience will take you to places and will help you build your confidence tenfold, allowing you to communicate most effectively during the times where it matters most. You can nurture such beautiful, meaningful relationships with anybody in your life if you're able to communicate properly, which means both listening and speaking with purpose and accuracy. I understand that there is a lot to take in and a ton of information to learn. But don't worry. Even if things are a little bit confusing, even at this stage, it's supposed to be. Humans aren't simple creatures, and our minds are infinitely complex. You're never going to understand everything, nor do you need to. The fact is that understanding people is a lifetime process, so you will find the need to constantly evaluate your baselines as you move forward. There's one thing I want you to remember when using this book. You only have control over your own values, actions, and reactions. It does not matter how critical you want to connect or forge ties with someone. You cannot force people to like you if their values are intrinsically different from yours. Keep in mind that connection is based on similarities, and there's no point in connecting with someone when nothing is similar between the two of you. Remember, you matter first. Your principles are special to you, thus you should not allow other people to choose your values. Analyzing people is essential because people interact for different reasons. They communicate and behave in specific ways for purposes that may not be apparent. Patterns of communication and behavior may also either reveal or conceal deeper mental and perceptive mindsets that bear the actual message of communication. For that reason, people need to learn how to unveil the deeper mental patterns that are concealed and assign them meaning. This is needed to gain the best understanding of people, phenomena, and the actions of others. Now you know how to read people like a book. Your life will become so much easier now that you have learned the critical life skill of reading other people. You will get better at reading people, which develops empathy. You can find out how others are feeling and respond accordingly. Your sensitivity will make you a more receptive and loved lover, parent, friend, and family member. You can also better protect yourself from harm and people with bad intentions. If you can read people, you may find people who will not do you any good. Before you go too far in a relationship with someone who is causing harm, you can understand what is at stake and avoid further injury. When it comes to choosing a good friend or lover, now is the time to select the right people for your life. You can identify those who genuinely care about you and are good at treating you. You can choose lovers and friends with a good background. Now, all these positives belong to you. If you've enjoyed this audiobook and you've learned more about how to analyze people, an honest review is always appreciated and will help me reach new listeners just like you who'd like to learn how to read people's minds.
We appreciate you tuning in to one of our captivating audiobooks. For more immersive experiences, here is another audiobook we're certain you'll enjoy. Don't forget to show your support by liking this video, sharing what you loved about this audiobook in the comments section below, and subscribing for more captivating audiobooks like this. Thanks for being a part of our audiobook community.